Good morning and welcome to the Delco Show. This is Fiore, Executive Director of Delaware County's Brandywine Conference and Visitors Bureau. And you're listening to the Delco Show right here on iRadio Philly. And the Delco Show is brought to you by the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce. And this morning, folks, before we get started, I want to do a little thank you as usual, right, Stephen E. Kessler II, to our new favorite friends, Primo Hoagies. Because we got three more surprises today, and I haven't even looked yet. But we'll take a peek maybe between the break and come back and find out exactly what they are. I do have a hint though that one of them might be a tuna hoagie. So now here's my problem, Stephen E. Kessler II. What do I do? Because we have three, we always kind of eat them, maybe don't eat them. So then we split the other one up. So then we bring them home. I was planning on cooking filet mignon tonight, but we got the Primo Hoagies. What do you think, pal? Can I get away with one more night and cook the fillets tomorrow night? All right, good. You know what? I'm going to go with that and say you said it was okay. And if there's a problem, my wife's going to call you, okay? All right. Anyway, folks, we'd like to welcome today a young lady who's been in the real estate business for a number of years, and a Delco gal, to say the least indeed, originally from Lansdowne, Pennsylvania. Please welcome to the show Maureen Ingelsby, a realtor. The company is called Keller Williams, and it's located on Lancaster Avenue in Bryn Mawr. Maureen, good morning and welcome to the Delco Show.
Good morning, Tori. How are you?
Well, you're going to let me know that because
Okay.
I got some interesting things to talk to you about today, but I'm doing adequate, but that's good for me. So,
Perfect.
Thank you for caring. It's nice to be cared about. But we got a couple of things going on today that I want to talk about, something I read in the paper fortuitously this morning, and something also that my wife's family is going through now in the selling of a property. So let's get talking about who you are, what you do, how you go about doing it. And the first thing is I saw an interesting motto, okay? And it almost reminded me of when you were a kid. It's called reading, writing, arithmetic, the 3 R's. So it's recognized, recommended, respected.
You got it.
Elaborate on that a little
I
bit,
sure
would
will.
you?
Yeah, yes, I will. When I first got into real estate, I went to a networking function where they had all the top realtors sitting in a table telling us all the wonderful things that they have done to get to be a top realtor. And one of the things that one of the girls talked about was that she had a billboard. And I thought, how cool is that? And then somebody asked her, well, where is it? It's on the Turnpike. She worked up in the Bluebell area. And we said, wow, how much does that cost? And she said $10,000. And this was back in the early 90s.
Hello, Dad.
And we all looked at each other and went, well, as new agents, that's not going to happen. That very same day, when I was on my way back to my office in Drexel Hills, I saw a blank billboard that said, advertise here. I called them up. It was $250 a month. I figured, that's not $10,000. I could do that.
Sure.
I took the billboard. It's been there for over 20 years now. Every year and a half or two, I change it up. I don't want anybody to look at my billboard and then see me in person and go, what happened to you?
Oh, please, please.
So that billboard has been in effect there and has gotten me a tremendous amount of business. Even with social media being supposedly number one, I get more of my business from referrals and that billboard than anything else I ever do. But I needed something that would catch people's eyes, something that would be a catchphrase, something like, with Channel 6, when you hear that bum, 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 it's Channel 6 News coming up.
Or the opening song for Law and Order.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wanted something, and I thought, what are the most important things that a realtor can do for the community and be for their buyers and sellers, but recognized, which I do have that recognition throughout Delaware County after 23 years and a lot of business that I've done. And the billboard, of course, and websites and what have you. I spent a lot of time and money on marketing. And when I got that billboard, it wasn't done. Nobody had one. And it was kind of interesting. But I have a couple of funny stories about that billboard. There was a lady in a CVS one day And I can still remember she had nails out the wazoo, all painted up and everything. And she saw me in line and she smiled and I smiled. I was like 3 people back. And then she looked at me again and then she did a double take. She said, oh, you're that famous realtor on the bill. Can I have your order? This is the best. So she's going on and on. I'm mortified. And she wanted my autograph. And I said, no, I only autograph agreements of sale and listing agreements. But she wanted one for her mother, which I thought was really funny. But, it's basically when I go to parties or when I'm in a networking situation, people look at me and I know what they're thinking. I know you from somewhere. So I felt that it was important out of 11,000. The last ones I have, I think 11,100 realtors in a 3-county area. Somebody needs to distinguish themselves, and somebody told me that was a good thing to do. So the recommended part is because over the years, I have based a lot of my business on recommendations. I used to teach kindergarten at St. Philomena's School in Lansdowne.
Wow, no wonder you got into real estate.
$9,000 a year with no insurance. It was fun. But I taught school, and believe it or not, I am now on the second home for many of the children that I taught in kindergarten are now buying their second home from me, which is amazing.
Yeah, but do they still call you Mrs.?
They start out doing that, and then I tell them, no, I'm not. I'm only Maureen to you now. But I'm on my 3rd generation of families who are buying houses, and there's not a month goes by that I don't get at least 1 or 2 recommendations or referrals. There was one coming in here today from a past client of mine that I just sold her house in Drexel Hill to her friend who also has a home in Drexel Hill. So this is the what I wanted to be for people is recommended, because when I'm recommended, it typically people take the word of their friends over anything else. Mm-hmm. That's why Facebook is so popular, I think. And of course, there's nothing more than being respected as a realtor.
Yeah.
We don't want to be second to used car salesmen. We want to be a respected professional community. We've worked really hard to do that. And I always feel that if I would go past my billboard someday and see a mustache drawn on it, then I'll know that somebody out there does not have respect for me.
Or you didn't update your picture.
Exactly. But a good name in the area and a good reputation will help me. When they say I told my client or I told my friend, then that's the name of the game for real estate, is to be respected in the community.
Well, I guess that got you to firmly believe in marketing, didn't it?
Absolutely. It's number one.
Yeah. Now, when you get to billboards now, if you get the opportunity, and again, it's all 90% of it's about location too, but even less expensive, just as is these digital billboards now.
Oh, yes. I see them all the time and think, wow, people can share that. It's probably not quite as expensive.
Yes.
Where mine is, it's at a 5 Points in Drexel Hill at State and Vermont Roads, and it's at a gas station.
Well, that's a good...
people are doing their gas and looking up and seeing my friendly face. I had somebody recently who said, my wife and I have been looking at your friendly face for 10 years now, and we always decided we were going to use you, and now we're retiring and going out to Maris Grove, and you're the one. So it's that kind of respect and being a staple in the community, as well as some of the community services that I do for outside of real estate.
Yeah. Now, you're located in Bryn Mawr. You've talked about Delaware County, but you also have delved into Montgomery County and Chester County too, right?
Absolutely.
You'll go. Yeah, you've
the
got some
office is in Montgomery County.
Regional business.
Yeah. The first 2/3 of our parking lot is Montgomery County, and the back third is Delaware County. That's where we're located.
I know, it gets confusing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And that's where my office is. And the reason I went there was to better my career and to open up a team. And that was Keller Williams was a place to be able to do that. And I made that move 7 years ago from another company. But I live in Chester County now. And a lot of my business is there. And a lot of my Delaware County people, when they need a bigger house or a bigger yard, will go out to Chester County.
Sure.
And then there's always the mainline people that, come into my office because that's where they live. Mm-hmm. So I vacillate between the three. Keller Williams is not like a little local company where every office is in every neighborhood.
Yeah.
The company is a brand, but the agent is more of a brand than the company these days. So Keller Williams is basically a hub for people who work in Philadelphia County, and they're up in Mount Airy and Plymouth Meeting and Chester, all over the place. We have about over 120 agents in our office, but everybody works everywhere. So it's more of a hub. It's a place to hang the license. It's a place to get educated, to be a family with the people that we work with. But it's not necessarily your local neighborhood office anymore that is the be-all and end-all of real estate.
Oh, sure. No, yeah. Well, let's start with websites. Then you go into the Facebooks and all the other social media and Pinterest, and you can ad infinitum. You can keep on going and going. It's not local anymore. You could be in Jabipari Overshoes.
Real estate is local, but your agent doesn't have to be.
Exactly. Now, is there a difference in your approach or in the needs? Okay, I know that you consult to buyers moving up who have a home, but what about the couple that are first-time buyers? I mean, is there a difference between that first-time buyer and that buyer that's moving up?
Oh, sure. My expertise expands all the way from the first-time buyer to the senior citizen. The senior citizen is basically in great need as well, and I have a special degree from the National Association of Realtors called the Seniors Real Estate Specialist, so I deal on that end too. But the first-time buyers are fairly cash poor. They've got student loans out the wazoo. They haven't saved. It's not because they're going to Manayunk every Friday night.
How do you fit room for the loans in your wazoo if you got fingernails in your wazoo at the same time?
Yeah, but
I'm just curious.
I am a consultant to those first-time buyers. You listen. I am a consultant to those first-time buyers because they need a lot of tender, loving care. Yeah. They hear and read and Facebook with each other, but when it comes down to it, they want somebody who's going to be a person that they can reach out and touch. They want their mortgage person to be that as well. It's a big decision in their lives, and we have to figure out a way to get them into the house even though they may not have a ton of money, and there's lots of ways to do that now with mortgages and seller's assist and all that kind of jargon that we hear about today. Yeah. But it's a very important. Without the first-time buyers, we have no market because then the move-up people can't move, and the high-end people can't move. So we need those first-time buyers, and we've been a little short of those recently, but things are getting better, and we can talk about that if we have time later.
Yeah, well, it's the trickle-up effect versus the trickle-down effect.
It is absolutely that, yes.
Now, it's interesting because, again, you've been around for quite a while in Delaware County, and you're very familiar with Chester County, living there now, familiar with Montgomery County because you sell there also. Delaware County is in itself a very interesting county in that the first-time buyer, the young couple that get married, they want to be as close as possible to their family, to their parents. It's like if you could find a house next door, they'd be happy. Do you find that a lot?
I did see that.
I want this.
I did see that over the years in my 23 years in real estate. I'm not seeing it quite as much in the last couple of years, believe it or not, especially with the millennials. Yes, they want to be close enough.
Well, they hate their parents.
They're living with their parents to save. Oh, yeah, they're living with their parents to save money to finally buy a house someday.
Get me out of here.
Yes, but I find that the young buyers today they want to be a little closer to mom and dad because they want a babysitter.
Yeah.
And they kind of want to. They're familiar with the same community. I know when I used to teach school years ago in Clifton Heights, the entire area of Clifton Heights was families on the street, 5-6 families, aunts and uncles and everybody else. I don't see that quite as much now, especially because the job market for buyers today, I read a statistic not too long ago that said that the typical young buyer today changes jobs probably 5 times in 10 years to get that job that they're going to be with for a long time. Yeah. And they're moving around a lot. So a lot of them are thinking about renting instead of buying, but the buying, and I have statistics to show it, is the better deal because the rents are going higher and higher and higher. There's not enough around, and the areas that they want to live in, sometimes they can't afford, so they rent. But the money's just being thrown out the window. Yeah. So that's why the mortgage companies are doing a lot right now to make it very inviting for a first-time buyer to buy that first home, to stay in for a little while and then move up later on.
I know that very quickly because we're going to go to break here. That my brother moved many years ago down in the Cape May area, and I stayed up here. I live just outside of Media, and he says, "Come visit." And I go, "No, I didn't move. You come visit me. You moved, okay?" Ladies and gentlemen, we're speaking with Maureen Ingelsby, Keller Williams Realtors. They're located on Lancaster Avenue in Bryn Mawr. You can check them out. 2 websites, folks: MaureenInglesby.com or DelcoHomesNow.com. You're listening to The Delco Show right here on iRadio Philly. Stay tuned, folks. We will be right back. Welcome back to The Delco Show. As you are well aware, this is Tori Fiore, Executive Director of Delaware County's Brandywine Conference and Visitors Bureau, and you're listening to The Delco Show, brought to you by the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce right here on iRadio Philly. We've already thanked our wonderful folks. Whoa, Stephen E. Kessler, we didn't get a chance. We didn't look at the hoagies. Hang on a second. Hold on. Well, we've got the tuna. We've got the Italian, which is my favorite so far. We got Sunshine pork. We got a pork sandwich from Primo's. We are in Dutch, pal. We're in good shape. No dinner tonight, Corinne. All right. Anyway, let's get back to Maureen Ingelsby, real estate agent from Keller Williams. Their office is located at 720 West Lancaster Avenue in Bryn Mawr. You can check them out on DelcoHomesNow.com or MaureenInglesby.com, or give them a call at their office, 610-520-0100. Did I get all that right? Did I screw something up?
No, you did a great job on that.
Okie dokie,
Absolutely.
good. Goody for me. Okay. 2 things I want to touch on very quickly here. Reading in the paper, which home fixes work best in selling? So this is an ongoing conversation, and it talks about the Philadelphia costs versus U.S. costs and what is recouped, okay? And I find it amazing that just replacing a garage door is a good thing. A stone veneer accent, I get that one. Vinyl siding, okay, I get that. And vinyl siding could be hardy cement board, whatever the case may be. And I really get the wooden deck. What I don't get, but I think I understand why, is the steel entry door. So I'm going to hand this article, I brought it with me this morning. I'm going to hand this article over to you, Maureen, and you can take a peek at that.
Sure.
And I find it amazing that you're recouping that much of a percentage. I mean, I think it says 80% recouped on, is it
89.4 in the Philadelphia area.
Yeah,
on a steel entry door.
Yes. Now, I've got to imagine that the steel entry doors are predominantly in big cities, urban settings. I got to guess, or am I totally off base?
No, they're all over the counties as well.
Really?
Sure. With side lights on either side, with double doors. Even a lot of my business is in Delaware County, as I said, and the row houses and the twins. If somebody wants to be different than everybody on the block, then they go out and buy themselves a steel door or what they call a composite door, which is a heavier door, but it has wood grain look to it, but it's not wood.
Well, then maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way. I'm thinking a steel entry door for safety purposes.
No, these are the ones.
I stand corrected.
No.
Okay, educate me, Maureen.
Well, all these houses in Delaware County, most of them, the older ones anyway, were built with the typical wooden door, and everybody's got one.
Sure.
So when somebody decides that they want to change up and make it a little fancier than their neighbors, they go out to Home Depot or to little mom and pop places where that's all they do is sell doors, and some of them are amazing. And number one, it's a safety thing because they put the Schlage locks on there and they're all set to go.
Hold on.
But others, it's
Schlage,
just that
Schlage locks.
Schlage locks.
That sounds like some sort of an old saying from some foreign country.
Well, they're supposed to
it's
be
a
really,
Schlage lock.
Yeah, they're supposed to be really safe and they're expensive.
Oh, okay.
And like Baldwin brass kind of thing.
Like in Italian, we'd call it a fakakta lock, but it's a Schlage lock. Okay.
Right. And so it makes the house look like it has much more curb appeal than the neighbors.
Wow.
So a lot of sellers will say to me when I go through the house, should I replace the door? And if we think it needs a little more good looks to it, sometimes it's worth it. They go out to Home Depot, get a sale on a nice door, and it's the first thing the buyers see. The new thing now is that the buyers are painting those doors with Tiffany blue or forest green or something that's really classy
those fire
looking.
engine reds.
Yes, the brick colors.
So it sets off the
That's
house
right.
itself, and kind of it's an illusion.
That's exactly
of the
right.
entranceway.
Yeah. People who sell their houses today are trying to compete with the television shows that the buyers are all watching.
Don't get me started
Don't get me
on
started
my wife every night. It's love it or list it.
Yeah.
Sell my house.
Well, that's where the buyers are getting all their ideas. And if they walk up to
I
a
want to
house,
shoot them all.
if they walk up to a house with a wood door, if they walk up to a house with a steel door with side lights, hey, it's fancier.
Oh
And that's
yeah,
what they
I
want.
mean now we're talking because I'll get to that. We're getting our whole house outside, the exterior replaced. Now she's talking about the fan windows, if you will, at the door, whatever the hell they're called. I don't know what they're called, but she's looking at all this sort of stuff. I mean, pillars. This is in
That's
Greece.
all from television. Nobody knew about Move-In Ready until those shows came up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, are you kidding me? And again, my problem is, then we have a good sized den with a great fireplace, and the den gets nice and warm, and she's watching these shows, and I end up in my office
There you go.
with the smaller TV, okay, and watching with a blanket on, and I'm going, this is just not fair.
Well, you know how, computer people don't want to work on their computers at night. And when I get home, and it's always late at night because I'm doing listing appointments, when I get home, the last thing I want to do is watch those shows because I'm dealing with the buyers that are watching the shows, and that's enough for me. But those shows give the buyer a good guideline. I happen to know that to tape one of those shows takes 3.5 weeks to get a half an hour of a show. So when the buyers say, I don't like the color of paint on the wall, they don't hear the realtor say, so go to Home Depot and get some Behr paint and paint it. That part doesn't. So the buyers come in and they don't like the color of the walls. But it's a springboard for the buyers where it helps them to know what they are looking for in a home. And the upgraded homes, with the interest rates being so low, the upgraded homes are a good deal for buyers because it averages out to be maybe between $6 and $8 per thousand for every thousand you go up in price. So this buyer can buy the upgraded home with the nice new front entry door and a finished basement and granite countertops for maybe $10,000 more than they could the average home with Formica and no new door. So it costs them $70 to $80 a month more in their mortgage payment, which just by not going out to dinner once a month, they could afford.
Sure.
As opposed to buying a home where there's more work to do, but they have to go to Home Depot and get a credit card that's 21.5% interest. So it averages out. But there are buyers out there that they want to make it their own. They want to customize it to themselves, and that's terrific.
You're talking about my wife.
That's terrific.
Okay? You need drywall hung? You call my wife. You need ceiling trim done? You call my wife. You need electrical work done? You
There's
call my wife.
There's a lot of people out there like that.
I do all the cooking at home. She does all that work. She's the contractor.
Yep. All right.
And she's doing all this stuff.
And people love it. And the young people today say, hey, you know what? If I can buy a nice house in a nice neighborhood and work on it in my own time, or maybe their father or uncle or cousin is a contractor, that's the house they want to buy. And sometimes it just comes down to price point. If it's in their price point, they buy it and work on it, so it goes both ways.
Yeah. And again, I know over the years that we've lived, and it's a beautiful home, and it's got a pond there, and It's got all the backwoods and everything. And she's a horticulturist, so she really loves it and whatnot. But over the years, we've totally redone the big den, put windows into the den, which were just walls at one time, put a whole brand new kitchen in, put 2 new bathrooms in. So we've done all these different upgrades, and she was basically the general contractor on them. She knew what she wanted.
Good for her.
Oh, yeah,
That's
and
great.
she had the cash.
I like working with people like that because they have vision.
Oh, she's a hoot. She's a hoot, which gets me on to the next part of this conversation when we talk about upgrading and your return on investment and everything like that. Folks, it's a shame you can't see these pictures. I'm getting ready to show Maureen here, but let me do something real quick. Let me give her a plug. We're speaking with Maureen Ingelsby, realtor, Keller Williams, 720 West Lancaster Avenue, Bryn Mawr, PA. The office number is 610-520-0100. Give her a holler or check her out on her website, one or the other, MaureenInglesby.com. That's a GELSB.com or DelcoHomesNow.com. Okay, getting back to this. Which brings me to my next point, because I always bring something personal to the table. My wife and her family are in the midst of selling this gigantic, beautiful stone home in Wallingford. We can talk about it because there's no realtor right now. We took it off the market for the time being. But one of the programs she watched, Show My House, okay? She went and showed the house, laid the house out from what she learned watching that program to make it look eye-appealing and eye-catching. So here's the dilemmas with this. The house was built in the early 30s. Her parents bought it in the late 60s. The kitchen is from the early 60s, I think. The bathrooms are from the early 60s. There's no air conditioning. But it's a beautiful stone home with a gigantic cellar. And when you look at this, just take a quick peek at it. We got about 4 minutes left.
Gorgeous, gorgeous stone center hall colonial.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful home. Yep. So you want to know what's best to do?
Well, again, the bottom line comes down to this, is that we know what we really could get for the house. We know what we've priced the house at, but we know what we're really going to get, because if you take into consideration, and my wife did all the analysis, a new kitchen, upgraded kitchen with the granite tops and everything, upgraded bathrooms and whatnot, put a full air-conditioned property house in there, that here's what the price is. So now they're looking at lowering the price, because a lot of people don't want just a gigantic place, but it's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, it is. It's very pretty. It actually looks very much like my house that I had, 7 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, when I married a 40-year-old bachelor with 5 teenagers and my mother living with me. And we had to buy that big house because he needed room. He needed space. He didn't want to be running into people in the hallways all the time. And except for the side porch, it's very similar to the house that I had.
Well, they had 5 kids, so it was a 17-room house, and all the kids, lived there, and they all came back to live at one point. It was like an open house there. They were great. It was great. I mean, they were really terrific. What do you do?
Well, when I go through a property, I do a little bit different than some realtors. There are some realtors that go through a property and then sit down and say, okay, here's my comps and here's what I think it's worth. When I go through, I'm lucky enough to have a team. I have a licensed realtor on my team. I have a conveyancer who's a licensed realtor. I have 2 unlicensed girls that do a lot of my work for me, which allows me to do things like this and go to settlements and run around, because the buyers want everything so fast. They want it yesterday. The sellers want it yesterday.
Yeah.
So you can't be all things to all people and do a good job unless you have some help. And so I got help when I came to Keller Williams, and we have a very well-oiled piece of machinery. But when the buyers or the sellers call me to come and look at their house, I set 2 appointments with them. The first appointment is to walk through the property and just take a look at it. I tell them, you play realtor, I'll play buyer. You pretend you're showing me the house, and I'll ask you the questions a buyer would ask. What's that stain on the ceiling? How old's the roof? Those things. I take copious notes. I then also write down things that I think would help enhance the property. They could be anything from a paint job and taking down the wallpaper to putting in a new kitchen. Then when I come back with my comparables and my marketing plan, and I go over everything with them from soup to nuts, it's about a 2-hour conversation that we have, sometimes more. I spend 6 or 7 hours on my presentation before I even get there. I will give them, if they want me to, a price to leave it alone and let these people come in and do what they want, because the kitchen you pick might not be the kitchen they'll pick.
Exactly, yes. And that's what it says in this article here. Yes.
Or I'll say, if you want to do the baseline granite and, some nice cabinets and whatever, that would also be a good idea. But sometimes I find that by lowering the price and keeping the upgrades to a minimum, but getting rid of the wallpaper and the paneling and the drop ceilings and all those things that the buyers can't stand. But if you have a good basic bones house that buyers have vision to see what they can do, you've got a sale. It's not a problem.
And speaking of vision, it's time for us to vision us being out of here, Maureen. I wish we had more time because it was fascinating.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Maureen Ingelsby, realtor, Keller Williams, 720 West Lancaster Avenue, Bryn Mawr, PA. MaureenInglesby.com or DelcoHomesNow.com. Tori Fiore, Delco Show, brought to you by the Chamber of Commerce right here on iRadio Philly. Ta-ta for now.